Good morning. Here we are. It's Monday morning. Woohoo! October 26th. I want to welcome you to Monday Momentum, your Momo. We have lots of cool stuff today, and really exciting for me because not only are we talking about a topic that I really enjoy, but I have my favorite, well, one of my favorite co-hosts back today. He hasn't been here for a while, so it'll be fun to see him again. So we're going to be talking about listening and how listening, being better at it, knowing how to do it, is something that can really impact your life in all areas. I have been screaming about the importance of listening for a really long time, and many of you have heard me talk about it. We did a show a couple months ago on listening skills, and it's our #1 watched video, so I know you're all interested in it too. And that's really cool, because if we listen better, what we do is we give people the gift of feeling as though they've been heard. And I think that that's the #1 need that most of us have, is that we often feel unseen and unheard, and it can hurt. And when we give somebody our attention and listen to them fully, we can give a great gift. And again, you have heard me say before, I believe if we worked on this one particular issue and we taught all our children how to listen well, we would have not only happier families and happier lives, but world peace, because you can't fight with somebody when you understand them. And that's really what listening gives us. So I'm going to have James McFadden say hi. We're so thrilled that he's back. And he's going to say hello and good morning. And then he's going to pass it off to Tom Masterson, who was with us a few weeks ago and has joined us again today to talk more about some listening skills and some techniques that he learned. And he's going to share them with us. So first, James, woohoo!
Good morning. It's awesome to be here. Awesome to be back. I think my favorite quote of the week is going to be, "I've been screaming about listening." I'm going to be thinking about that all week. But no, it's great to be here. I've been absent for quite a while, and I'm looking forward to kind of getting back in the swing of things, get that momentum back. My name is James McFadden. I'm here in southern Utah. I'm in Washington, Utah, just next to St. George, Utah, south of Zion National Park. And I'm a marketing systems expert, and, well, that's what I say once in a while. And I do high-end micro social media website design and implementation. So it's awesome to be here. Looking forward to hearing from our guest, and I'll go ahead and turn that over to you, Tom.
Tom.
Thank you, James. Tom Masterson, and I live here in Reno, just up the slope towards Lake Tahoe with my wife and son. And we own a international distribution channel for anti-aging products. And what I'm going to share today is something I was exposed to, gosh, quite a few years ago, back when I started my career, and is still effective today. And it's expanding upon listening and really develops good communication tools that if we work at, we will be better at understanding people and bonding with people, and then we can scream about it too. So excited to be here. And Sarah, if you want, I'll just tee it up, and hopefully you can see my PowerPoint.
That would be great, Tom. So Tom is going to be doing screen share with Hangouts, and that's another thing that you can do when you get good at Google Hangouts. It's just a little button over on the left, and it's called screen share. And we haven't done a whole lot of it, so you can forgive us if we bounce around a little bit. But he's going to be showing some slides, so take it away, Tom.
Thank you. Can you see the presentation?
Not yet.
Okay.
But it looks like something's happening as far as I can tell with my screen.
Well, let me know when this tees up.
Okay. So what Tom is doing is clicking on the little green button over on your left that says screen share, and when he gets that up, then he's going to be able to have a choice between showing us himself or showing us something else that he's going on his computer. And of course we practiced it ahead of time, but sometimes there's crazy things that happen. It should be a little dialog box that shows up and then gives you the screen share as one of your choices, your PowerPoint page. So if that box hasn't showed up yet, that would be the thing I would be looking for. Hey, I think something's happening. See how Tom has turned into this mysterious blackness? That's the first step. Come on, Tom, you can do it. There, I see it. PowerPoint.
Do we have it?
went away again. Come back, come back, come back. It's so interesting. I wonder if it's because it's too, I can't make it be big. It's only showing up on...
Go.
There it is. Yay! Okay, so those are all the people sleeping on the desks.
Okay, so this
Tom, how do we wake them up?
So, thank you. Yeah, and this is what we don't want whenever we're talking either in public or in a training session and or individually. And we'll be talking today about an acronym called LAYER, and I'll explain that in a little more detail. But first, I just want to mention a Harvard study. This is really going back to the mid-1980s. They did a communication study called the odds-are factor. And they found that we as people will interpret someone's comments through our own experiences and filters, and we will not fully understand what they meant because we're kind of filtering it ourselves, and we'll experience it through how it relates to us and what we're thinking of and how it impacts us rather than what the speaker actually meant. And the odds of us doing that incorrectly are 2 to 1, and LAYER is intended to help improve those odds. So if we look at normal communication, we listen, we respond to varying degrees. The key to this whole thing, the most major point, is effective listening. And what a lot of people do is they're so busy thinking about what they're going to say, they don't listen. But you need to concentrate, make eye contact. You need to block out distractions, watch for nonverbals, their body posture, expressions, eyes and hands. Do not be critical or defensive. And do not interrupt. When you listen effectively, it demonstrates your interest and sensitivity and that you really care about what they're saying. Now, of course, if this conversation is on the phone, what I'll do is either close my eyes or look in a mirror at myself, and it helps me concentrate better than the distractions around a room or in an office. Second step, which is a little easier if I've accomplished the listening, and responding really is I want to maintain those same cues of eye contact, etc. But make sure they're done speaking. What a lot of people do is they'll step on words. And a little tip I'd give you is wait 3 seconds. It sounds like a long time, but if I just stop for a second like that and continue and you interrupted me, then that isn't good for either one of us. So a good tip is to wait 3 seconds. And is this effective communication? Well, if I'm listening well, it is, but I think we can improve it. And a step called acknowledgement will do that. And that's really simply just repeating or restating what the person said. You don't have to make this too sophisticated, but you want to confirm that you understood what they said and didn't misunderstand them. This, once again, will demonstrate your concern and elevate the importance of their words to you. The other bonus you get is it gives you time to process their comments and to think about what your response is before you speak. So a good acknowledgement step before you respond improves and reacts, actually allows you to listen more effectively, and before you respond, make sure that your response is specific to what they're talking about or asking you. So I'm going to build a third step into this, and that's what I call the exploratory, the explore step. And before I respond, I've listened, I've acknowledged, I'm going to explore a little bit. I want to find out a little bit more about the specifics. So if somebody asks me about a coffee machine, well, I might want to find out how often they drink coffee and how many people would use that coffee and get some details that might influence my response when I give it. So ask those secondary questions. It does show that you're truly concerned and interested, and it will generate new information, and once again, demonstrate your interest and desire to assist. So I'm going to listen, I'm going to acknowledge, reflect back, oh, so you meant coffee machine, and then explore a little bit about their subject, their interest, and it improves my response. So when I do respond, I've done so after a lot of information, and I'm more specific. I've really drilled down that they're going to appreciate that I'm giving them recommendations or input that's specific. So if I look at that in review, listen, acknowledge, explore, and then respond, and you can practice this in all forms of communication, at family, home, friends. That response when you do this, in a lot of cases, will calm somebody down. They might be upset, they might be frustrated, and when you do this LAYER process, it calms them down, and it also improves the overall communication and the results of that. So once again, the diagram does take some practice if you're not familiar with this, but embrace it. It will make a difference, and it will improve your communication skills, your listening skills, and what other people think about the advice and the comments that you're giving them. So that's LAIR.
That's LAIR. Cool. So I'll leave that up for a minute, but I would like to also see your smiling face again. Is that diagram the piece that people can go ahead and contact us on My Monday Momentum and get a copy of, or is there?
Sorry, I didn't effectively listen there. I've got a one-page handout that includes this slide as well as the diagram on one page that they can go to the site and be able to access that. And I'll just mention that this diagram is something that early on I carried around with me. I had a little reduced copy, and I'd go into a meeting or meet with a client, and I'd have this just to remind myself to listen, acknowledge, explore before I responded. And that's a nice little tool that you can take with you when you're meeting with people.
Well, I would be happy for you to. Oh, there it is again. So for our viewing audience, LAIR, the listen, acknowledge, explore, respond, and if you can't always explore, just listening and acknowledging before you respond is still going to be an improvement. But the whole 9 yards sounds like it's even better. And so what I'm doing or trying to do as an interviewer is recap, which is similar to acknowledging, similar to reflecting, going back and making sure I understood. Because if I didn't understand, there's a chance that maybe other people that are watching didn't understand either. So you think I got a grip on it, Tom?
Oh, I think you do. I think most people do. This just kind of helps tighten it up, and sometimes we're all guilty of not effectively listening and communicating, and this is just a tool. The more I practice, the better I get, and I think most people do a pretty good job of it that I interact with.
Well, fabulous. How about you go ahead and close out your screen share so we can see your face again when you're talking. There he is. Yay. So one of the things that I wanted to emphasize, because I have a feeling that people might not have heard you, and I've heard you talk a little bit about this before, so I knew what you meant. But Tom was giving an example of when somebody is discussing with you, and it's a pretend sales situation, I think, where they're talking about a copy machine, and what one person hears is copy, as in P, as in copy paper and Xerox and making many copies and collating and all that stuff. But when somebody took the time to explore, they realized that, oh, we're talking about coffee, which is the beverage, and it's a completely different machine and it has different needs. And that's just an example of how you can really miss. Because I bet just now James missed it, for instance, and anyone else watching, because they sound pretty dang similar, and it's certainly possible in an office environment that you could be talking about either one of those. So, am I right?
Yeah, and that's an actual example. My career started in the copy and digital imaging business, and that actually happened. I went to an appointment to present a copy solution, a print solution, and the guy was looking for a Boyd coffee machine, so I wasted his time and didn't necessarily make the best of first impressions. So those things happen. They happen in casual conversations, and it's a little embarrassing. And if we practice this, we minimize those embarrassing moments where I start responding to what I think you said, and I missed it totally and wasn't listening and didn't hear it, and off I go, and you're like, Tom, that isn't what I asked you. So it absolutely helps.
Mm-hmm. Good. So I'm wondering, James, do you have a question for Tom, or have you seen an example of some of these kinds of things in your real life?
I think what I appreciate the most in hearing you share these thoughts, Tom, is I'm a systems person. I believe if you have a system or a process that's well defined, that you have taken the time to kind of absorb and utilize, you're more likely to be successful in those things. And to some this might seem simple, but really it's a profound process for engaging in that conversation or meeting somewhere that's going to be mutually beneficial and whatever that situation is. I know a lot of people that, like you were saying at the very beginning, sometimes you're spending more time thinking about what you want to say next, or, oh, I can't forget this point and this point and this point, and when can I get those in? And so the minute you feel like you have an opportunity to talk, you put those in, and that might actually kind of distract from that opportunity or the things you're trying to accomplish. So I really like how you put this together in that way to help people think about each step as its own individual pillar, if you will, to that communication process. So I really enjoyed hearing you put that into those terms. So this is something that's always been kind of a frustration with me, and in that some of the people I've worked with, you can tell if they've been listening, because the minute you stop, they literally, it's just bam. And so that I've never even really thought about consciously putting in those 3 seconds or taking that pause, which I tried to do right at the beginning there. I don't know if you got that, but so no, I think this is, I mean, this is vital in that process, especially sales or overcoming a difficult situation or a miscommunication. It can make all the difference in the world. So that's, I really enjoyed those thoughts you were sharing.
Right. I did too, and I especially like the way that, I mean, it is a gift. I really think it is when you take the time to listen to someone, and this is a great process that we could use to teach our children to do that, because people, you know, like James just said, they dive right in, they're ready to answer, and sometimes, you know, you finish speaking and they dive in, and it's not just that they were so ready before you even like finished your word, they're on you with their thing they need to say, but it's like they're off on some other tangent there, and that's really some pretty good evidence that they weren't listening at all, because they don't even know what I was trying to say. Now I was talking about cats and dogs, and they're suddenly talking about airplanes, and wait a minute, how did we get there? Well, we got there because your brain, the whole time I was talking, your brain was going on a trip instead of trying to stay with me on my trip. And you know, it's not a very nice thing that we do to each other. We're not trained well. I don't think we get up in the morning and decide, I'm not going to listen to anything anyone has to say today. But we often aren't very good at it, and not comfortable with the space and the pause and letting someone speak. So again, yeah, I agree, and I'd love it if we had little cards that we could carry around like that, like you said you used to. Do you have an example of a time where it really made a huge difference for you, Tom? Because you use this in your sales career, right?
Yeah, and I do use it today. And you know, as you're talking, I'm thinking of a social situation. I've got a good friend who interrupts unintentionally and doesn't let somebody finish. And I've watched people walk away from that person not thinking well of them, because he just has this puppy dog urgency to respond and doesn't give them a chance to finish what they were saying, which is pretty insulting when you think about it. As you're talking and I'm listening, if I keep interrupting you, I'm kind of insulting you, and you're going to walk away from that saying, well, I don't really care too much about that person. So that, I think in reverse, has been something I've worked with this person to improve their ability to wait 3 seconds. And it doesn't have to be 3 seconds. It could be 2 seconds. But the point is, make sure there isn't that poetic pause going on. Now, career-wise, I can think of many situations, and the one I mentioned, the copy example, But we deal with some pretty complex health issues, and it's sometimes very difficult to get people to open up about maybe a health, weight problem, facial, health and beauty problem they may have, and effectively listening and acknowledging and exploring can just open them up, and you can just see them go from I really don't want to have this conversation to just opening up some things that have been really affecting them in a number of ways, self-esteem, personality, etc. So this tool in our current business, when we're dealing with stuff that's personal, has really helped me have the patience to get people to a point where they feel comfortable in sharing a problem that they want to solve, but they don't want to necessarily tell somebody they just met. So it does get you on a much more personal level with somebody much faster by this empathetic tool that we use.
Yeah, I can imagine that it would, and I think, you know, it's because we're dealing with human beings, and in sales we're selling to human beings, and they want to be heard. So if you are taking the time to listen to them and ask them the right questions and explore with them, you're building that wonderful state of rapport, which means that they like you, and they like you because you're listening to them. And the chances are that they're much more likely to want to buy from you if they can. I mean, if you have a product that's just really not at all appropriate for them, you're also going to find that out during that kind of exploratory conversation, and both of you will be off the hook because you don't have to try to sell something to somebody that can't use it, and you won't know that if you haven't had that conversation. So it's beneficial in many ways. I mean, you're going to make a friend even if you don't make a sale. And in terms of what you spoke about the other person that was interrupting a lot, and sometimes I think that people do that because nobody's ever listening to them and they don't have any way to get heard. So they're used to feeling like the only way I can say my piece is if I jump in because of how they grew up or their own family life. And for us, the three of us here and the thousands that are watching, it's time for us to take the high road and be the one that listens to them and finds a way to talk to them when we can about, hey, you know, I'd like it if you'd listen to me now, to teach them a little bit because they've probably never had a chance and they've never thought about it. And I bet that there's pain behind that. There's desire to be heard behind that. And it's just the mechanism they've adopted. And yeah, it's hard to be with someone who constantly interrupts. And I think that comes from, you know, they're trained that way. And if we help them learn that yes, you will get your time to be heard, and the deal is I get my time to be heard too, it's a huge relief and it's a blessing. So hopefully we can help them. You said you had, and that's great. Any more things that you would like to add in there, Tom or James? You want to wave your hand if you're... Oh, look, they're raising their hands. Okay, well, James.
I do have a little thought here because, you know, in this situation that where we're doing these interviews, I mean, I've actually found myself through the course of the last 20 minutes or so even being more, maybe even more hypersensitive to that process because it's real easy to want to jump in and share a thought. But what I really started to kind of think is, as I was holding off on those things, it was almost like I forgot those things because, but if it's one of those things, you know, your mom always told you, you know, if it was that important, you would have remembered. But then when that opportunity really presents itself to talk or to share, there's a little more depth in those thoughts. So almost by not necessarily ignoring a lot of those thoughts, let them come, let them you know, kind of have their place, but by holding out, by waiting until that comfortable moment or that appropriate moment, you might actually have something a little deeper or more meaningful or more specific to that situation. So as someone who, Sarah, you and I doing this, it's real easy to want to, get that momentum and ask those questions. But I noticed this in myself as well. It's not something that I perfected by any stretch of the imagination. So no, this has been a really good, really great topic. So I appreciate it very much, Tom. So.
Well, thank you, James. And just real quick, you both touched on something that I'll just restate if it wasn't made. And there's really no downside to using Layer. It is such a great way of bringing you closer to people, and they feel better about it. So it's a little uncomfortable sometimes in the exploratory of asking secondary questions, and if they're appropriate, if they're effective to that person, they're going to feel your compassion, your love, your interest, and they're going to walk away having a much higher opinion of you than they probably had when they sat down. So it helps build initially that a good, solid relationship, and helps you build it as you meet those people time and time again, and you really do develop friendships through sometimes a business relationship that might not do that. And you both touched on that, and that's a pretty key point of this. Is the benefit is you get better information, but that other person walks away going, boy, James, really, what a great guy. He really cares about me. And if you can do that, boy, you're moving forward in life, on a much stronger note.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that is the benefit of good listening skills, that people feel heard, as we've said, I've said, screaming for better listening. I really think that it's a gift. Many people don't get it, and they just don't get a sense that anyone hears them or sees them, or they don't get it often enough. And it may be our society or just individuals. I don't want to blame it on any kind of a cause, but I do think when you listen to someone, you give them a huge gift. And the flip side of that is that we have a right to be heard as well, and so there are plenty of techniques like this Layer to help you as you're out there in the world. But when you have a relationship with somebody that it's a meaningful relationship, your spouse, your kids, somebody that you work with regularly, teach it to them so that you get the chance to be heard too, because that is the benefit for you and for them. It's a great skill to share, and share with anyone you can. I wanted to add just a little bit more about it, because I really feel as though you just can't do it too much. And well, I guess I could leave it at that. But being, in the position that I'm in, where I feel like I'm an interviewer and it's my job to sort of conduct everything, there are times when I'm just like dying to take over the whole show, and maybe I do, I don't know. But being able to pull out the nuggets and reflect back, I think, is why people enjoy being on the show with us, because they are not feeling so much as though they have to come up with fresh content every sentence, and they get a chance to reiterate it if it wasn't clear. And that's really what they want to do too, is get their message out. So yay for us. And there's so much more here. If you're in an argument with somebody and it's someone you care about, using this that's a whole nother skill set, because that's where we really can get into, I want to be heard so much that I'm ready to start yelling and screaming, and that doesn't help you get heard usually. So that'll have to be a future topic. Tom, I'd like to give you a chance to say any last little tidbits you'd like, because we're almost out of time. It's such a quick little half hour. And then pass it off to James, and he can pass it to me.
Well, thank you. A pleasure being here. And I'm getting some feedback, so it's a little disturbing. But pleasure being here, and we will have that handout available on the Monday Momentum website, or they could contact me directly for that, and I'd be happy to forward that and answer any questions or clarification people need on the subject. It certainly has been tools that we should all embrace. And once again, happy to share that hard copy with anyone that's interested.
Great, thank you. And what we'll do, for those of you that are watching, you'll be able to find the information about that at MyMondayMomentum.com, and we'll also put Tom's contact information up on the YouTube channel so you could track him down that way too. So, James.
It's been awesome to be here this morning. Thank you, and I needed to hear some of those things you were sharing there, Tom. So, looking forward to this week. Looking forward to taking the momentum into Friday. Mm-hmm. And just so you know as well, Tom, we've launched a site here in Southern Utah called Southern Utah Influencers. So I'm actually going to write some more thoughts on this and share this hangout on our site here, and make sure we can help as many people as we can. So it's been great being back. It's been just nice to be here. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Sarah, and everybody have an awesome week.
All right. Thank you, James. So, yay, we're back. We have James back, and I'm hoping that someday we'll get to hear a little bit more about some of the things that he's been learning while he's been taking a sabbatical from Monday Momentum, because we love having him here, but, you know, we can't all do everything all the time. So we get that. As you can see right down there, there's a website now called MyMondayMomentum.com, and when you go there, you can put in your email and you can get the information that we've shared on today's Hangout, along with other information from other Hangouts that we've done in the past. All sorts of videos are up there, and we're happy to hear from you. We're dying to hear from you. We're screaming to hear from you. We really, really want to know what you think, what you want to know about, what has been helpful to you on the Hangouts that we've had in the past, how you're using your information from Monday Momentum, what else you would like to learn or hear us talk about. So please go into the YouTube channel and write comments there, or do it at My Monday Momentum. Please like us and forward us and subscribe to us. I don't know why I can't remember that word. So that we can keep helping people like you, people like us. And all we are is regular old people that are working from home, chasing a dream, growing a business, solopreneurs, small business people, and we know what it's like to do that on your own. And maybe there's some people out in your world that think you're a little bit nutso and wonder why you don't just go get a job. Because we have dreams, and we're not going to go get that job. We're going to chase the dream, and we want you to do that too. So we're here every Monday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time, to cheer you on, to rock your world, so that you start your week out right and then slide into that home base on Friday feeling really good about what you did all week. So we'll see you next Monday. Go out there and listen hard and tell us how it worked for you. Bye.